Hello everyone, my name is Alex from the Jank Collective. Today on What's in the Deck, I have special guest Martin with me,
Hello, I am Martin.
and you are our first place King of November champion, I guess we should call you.
Yeah, well, a little bit of luck, a little bit of dice. Decent
Um,
deck.
it's a deck. I'm looking at it right now, and I'm a little bit concerned about your mental state.
Well, I wanted to win.
So you brought the most mediocre four wide low health deck you could think of,
Oh yeah, definitely low health, sitting at only just above 30.
just above 30. I guess in a two wide meta for currently a four is rather daunting.
Yeah, well, it's no 50, it's no Death Troopers, but it's pretty high.
Yeah, it gets scary. And the first glaring thing I see when I look at this deck is no no endless ranks.
In testing, I didn't think I would have the money for it because I was only running up against two wides, and Aftermath didn't trigger enough to make it worth it, but I think I would actually toss one in now.
Okay, so tossing one in now. Yeah, I could see
Yeah,
it.
I
I
would
mean,
do.
you have the money sides are kind of inconsistent between the four. And having all these expensive pay sides and the troopers and some of your weapons, I can see the reason not including one.
Yeah, I think if I would have known that we were playing in a relatively heavy three-wide meta, I probably would have cut the two cannon fodders and I would have gone two endless ranks.
Okay. I guess we're jumping a little bit ahead here. Why two First Order Stormtroopers and why two Guavian Enforcers?
Mainly just for consistency. All four of those dice have 50% damage sides and money sides, which means bait and switch is amazing.
Yeah, I do see the bait and switch inclusion in there, and that I guess that makes huge sense, especially with the Guavians. But I know for the last few weeks you're kind of, or last couple weeks at least, you're playing triple Death Troopers, and I can't remember what the week previous you were playing, but yeah, I think it's
Uh,
rather interesting that you brought out something that no one was expecting. Four wide in a very what I would consider is a very two wide meta in Calgary currently.
yeah, that's why I brought the deck out. The only thing that it really gets countered by is Sabine that's running thermals. Everything else is at least even, if not unfavored.
Yeah, like that's a scary amount. There's so many redeploy weapons in here with F11D holdout. The LL30 has redeploy currently, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so that's four different redeploy weapons, and the baby blasters are $1, so you don't care if you lose them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a nasty end. I can't wait to see what it gains with the next set. If there's at least one more redeploy weapon, that's gonna be scary.
well, that'd be great because then it can go to at least 10 with having all replay.
That's I don't want to live in that world now.
I sure do.
So, um, first question: if there's any one card other than endless ranks that you could put into this deck, what would it be, and what would you cut for it?
Now knowing my games that day, we're going to be up against a bunch of shield decks. I would actually toss in a little used card called Sustained Fire.
That is a very funny card. I was thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah, well, because I have all range dice and I have a lot of dice, and it usually takes me a long time to resolve them, I would guarantee to have the two out. So, and it would be really great against because there was a bunch of three wides and two wides that were just spamming shields. So,
Gotcha, gotcha. That's fairly interesting. Um, yeah, there was a lot of shields, especially with Brad. Hmm. I'm wondering now.
well,
Okay.
that was the games against Brad were easily my two hardest games of the day. So,
Yeah, and just for anyone that isn't part of the Calgary meta, you got to play against him twice that day, once in Swiss and once at the finals.
yep, and it was playing Epo E-Ray with a bunch of shields and healing, and it was hard to chew through.
Yeah, that was a long game. Alrighty. Well, so let's go over quickly a little bit about what is your ideal game plan here? Like, what are you looking in an opening hand with this deck?
My opening hand, well, if I was looking for a god draw, it would
In the
be
perfect
two
world.
salvage. Okay, two salvage stand, an aftermath, and some guns.
So no removal.
I don't really because you have so much health on round one. Even if you lose a character, it doesn't really matter. So no, I just want guns and salvage stands and aftermaths to get going. This deck doesn't really do much damage early on. You need to get some guns out first.
Fair. That makes sense. Interesting choice in the battlefield for the Nexus. That gives your guys a Guardian while you control the battlefield, so it really lets you split the damage.
Yeah, and the other thing too is because we're in a very heavy two wide meta, or at least I thought we were. Most other decks can't really use it very well.
Well,
So
yeah, it's interesting. About half the decks that showed up to King of November were 2 wide, and the other half were either 3 or 1 in the case of Palpatine.
yeah, well, I wasn't really worried about the Palpatine matchup because this deck beats Palpatine anyway.
Yeah, it's almost a hard counter, one would say, because sure, maybe Palp can blow out one of those guys turn 1, but you
But
have
there's
so
three
much
more
health.
there.
Yeah, there's still 3 more, and you have quite a bit of removal.
Yeah, well, that's the way to beat Palpatine is just to pull his dice.
That's very fair, yeah, especially with best defenses there. I think that's probably Palp's greatest fear.
Yeah, a lot of people I think would question the best defense in the 4Y, but I actually found it was pretty useful during that day. Anytime you can pull more than three, it's just a great card.
Okay, that's yeah. I think with any villain, red villain deck, that's just true. Is like, okay, well, you're gonna hit me for 5. You know what? I'd rather eat 3 instead.
Yeah, particularly in this deck actually, because I found a lot of my opponents were tiptoeing around the troopers because they were scared of me running endless ranks.
Hmm.
So best defense was particularly good in those matchups.
Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, I'll gladly kill one of my first orc troopers. And
Yeah.
it just makes them that more scared that when you hit that $5, they're just anticipating it coming, so they're playing around that.
Mhm.
Just,
And actually,
interesting
even in the
mind games.
final,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. No worries. Go for it.
Even in the final, actually, I had the $5, and I just used it. Like Brad was refusing to kill my trooper, so I just dropped, I think, a Z6 and an LR30 on the same turn. That's what actually ended up winning me the game. Was that
Oh
I had so
wow.
many dice.
Yeah. That's So let's go over your games during King of November, just so the audience can get an idea of what kind of decks these played against. So first round, who'd you go against?
I went against Sean playing E Kylo and Grievous, and I found that matchup is very favored towards me because it's a low health aggro deck, and Kylo's ability is almost irrelevant because of how rainbow I am. Like I even have 6 gray cards.
Two, four, six, yeah, 8 gray cards,
Like
and you're looking at 12 red and then uh 10 yellow. So yeah, that's a tough call.
yeah, so I think he hit his Kylo activation once,
Ooh,
and he also had pretty cold dice, so that game was very biased towards me.
that hurts to hear.
Yeah, and
Uh,
then my round two was against Brad. The first time I fought him that day, he's playing Epo E Ray, and I think I actually misplayed the first time because I went for Poe because Ray already had 3 shields, and this deck has no real way to hate on them.
mhm.
But I think that was a mistake because his deck is very much built around Ray after seeing your video that you put up a while ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of shield cards in that deck. There's so many ways to gain shields and keep those on them.
Yeah, it's just well, and it's really kind of bad for my deck because the only way that I have to get around them is backup muscle, and backup muscle is good, but I wish I had like a BD axe.
Yeah, even just one single Vibroaxe would instead of a Z6 would just make it that much more better, I
Just
guess, against shields would be the best word.
yeah,
Um,
more punch. But
yeah,
you lose redeploy then, and it's a 3 coster on somebody who has 9 at the most health, so they're gonna die.
real quick. Well,
So yeah,
rounds, and you lost that game against
I
Brad.
did, yes. So
Yeah,
I was 1-1 at that point, and then I ran into Luke, 1 die Luke, 1 die Pilot, 1 die Maz, piloted by Dave, and that is a deck that I was actually very much scared of.
that
And
is
you'll
a
hear the character
glorious deck.
combination. You'll hear the character combination, and a lot of people online will be like, "What is that? It's nonsense." He runs Launch Bay, and then he draws his entire deck and uses Salvo to kill you.
It is quite a silly deck. We will have it featured in round 1 of our once we start getting those games out next week. At some point, I walked by and he was playing against Palpatine. Palpatine decided to use a 2 discard against him, and he just fanned about 15 cards. And I look over, I'm like, "Is that your deck?" And I look over, he has no more deck. His hand is his deck.
Yeah. Well, I was actually seriously concerned for that matchup because he only needs to get a salvo off for 9 to completely delete me in one turn. So,
And that's
thankfully I
very
won.
achievable.
Yeah. Thankfully I won because I think he actually made a slight mistake in that matchup in where he played two. I was like mid round, so I had a bunch of upgrades already, and he played two don't get cocky, so he gave me four extra cards, which I used to just reroll into perfect damage and kill him.
Oh wow, yeah. I think that was probably just some mistiming there. If you had done
I
it
think
after
so.
you passed, it would have been fine, but
Hmm. So that was round three. That was honestly one of my closer games in the tournament, which is funny considering the deck.
yeah, people look at the deck and they'll wonder what's going on here, but when you actually take a look at the cards behind them, there's some serious thought put in.
Yeah, it's solid. So round four was against my father playing Ibala Nine's Trooper, a deck that most people I'm assuming thought was dead, but he still makes it work.
That deck is definitely not dead. I want to run that deck.
Oh, it's solid. I actually ended up winning that match, but it was close. His Balatik had three upgrades, and he was very close to having it just go ahead and shotgun people, but I managed to kill it with backup muscle before that happened. I think if I
Nice.
didn't, I would have lost. But
Yeah, because I mean, you realistically, you only need to put two into Bala and just let the backup muscle do the rest.
yeah, like it was fortunate that I drew both in that matchup, but I mean, luck wins games sometimes.
Yep. You can't be an amazing player without a little bit of luck.
Truly.
So,
So yeah,
uh,
once I cleaned up Bala, the rest of that match was pretty easy because he was very far behind.
yeah, sounds like it. Like once Bala if Bala dies quickly, then it's just an uphill battle.
Hmm.
So, next
So
up, you were able to advance into the top four cut out of 12 players, and your first round was against Corey.
yes, Corey, and he was running E Kanan and two Padawans. And that
What a
matchup was
silly
actually
deck.
also incredibly close. It came down to one die, actually. So he started off the game with the end of round one. He had a light bow on each Padawan and three shields on Kanan, so that was fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was. I managed to win. Honestly, I don't know how. I think I made a mistake. I think early on, and that I targeted Kanan first because his dice and ability are very annoying to play around. And then he dropped the two light balls on the Padawan, so I was forced to switch targets, which means I wasted a bunch of damage. But
Yeah. Well, I think I'm not quite sure with the deck. If the Padawans don't have anything round one, maybe killing them quickly is the right call. Because I know he does run Funeral Pyre in that deck, and then he's just going to bring him over when they die anyway. So if you can manage to shotgun them one in round one and two, then you're in a pretty solid position. But as soon as an
yeah,
ability is over, I think you kind of just want to kill Kanan.
yeah, I agree with that. Well, my like I said, I went for Kanan mainly because his dice and his ability are annoying, and I know Corey, and he's very good at using the focus to just hurt you so badly. But
Yeah.
what happened was I sunk four damage into him, and then he rejuvenated one off, and then he cautioned. So I basically had done nothing, and he had both Padawans with light bow, so I decided to trade target after that point.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that time. Just kill one of the Padawans. Hopefully he doesn't get Funeral Pyre out, and then you can just go from there.
Yeah, in that game, we whittled each other down. Like we were basically trading character for character, and then it came down to Kanan versus one trooper, and the trooper had two Z6s and an LL,
That's
and he
scary.
just and then it just happened to roll out like eight damage, and he couldn't mitigate it. So
Ouch. Yep, that is scary. You don't want to see him like triple wielding some weapons.
yeah,
Even
they're
if the
good.
trooper misses, like that's still gonna hurt. The two's at six alone.
Oh yeah. Well, and the fact that I can re-roll them is just they always hit.
Well, I wish I had your dice then. I always hit the blank and then reroll straight into another blank,
Well,
and
they
then
should do damage.
toss to reroll back into another blank.
Well, yeah, that's sometimes they don't do anything, but they statistically should hurt.
Statistically, 50% chance.
Yes, so I ended up winning that game against Corey, and then I moved on to my final game, which was my second game against Brad, and it was very, very tight, actually. I
That
went
was a
for Ray
nail
first
biter.
this time. Yeah, that was a long game, too.
And drew quite the crowd.
Oh, yeah, well, it was close. So I ended up, I went for Ray first because I saw his deck, and we already played a game. I feel like that's the right call in his. and I managed to kill her, but not before he killed two of my troopers. And in my head at the time, I thought that was okay because I was trading 2 for 1. So I don't know. That matchup came down to me drawing backup muscle, and he tried to dig in his Ray, even though she had 1 health left because he forgot I had backup muscle, and I killed her. And I think that's what won me the game because he would have had 3 more health on his Poe, which wouldn't have let me kill him.
Yeah, that was a crucial mistake during that matchup. Using Doug in at the most inopportune time when backup muscle just ignores shields anyways.
I
I
mean,
don't know if he
honestly,
just
I attribute the win.
missed the backup muscle or if he thought it didn't go through shields. I'm not quite sure what happened there. Or maybe he just missed it
Um,
out on the field.
I think it was more of a missing it because of stress, because like we had a giant crowd around us, and it was the final, and everybody was watching, and
Yeah. Sometimes, stress just gets to you. It happens. What can you do at that point?
you just try to do your best.
Yep. I'm not sold on going for Ray first because of Poe's die and his ability, using all in and hit and run. And suddenly he's just swinging for so much damage.
That's fair, but I went for Ray first because in our first game, I didn't actually see either of those, so I didn't know he was running them.
Oh, okay. That makes
They
sense.
came out in the final as a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. That's a scary combo. He rolls in, doesn't matter what he hits, all ins you, and then, well, now he just gets to focus on removal.
Yeah, well, and then he just kills somebody.
Yeah. It's like, ooh, and one of my guys is dead. Ooh.
Yeah, 1 or 2 in my case.
Yeah, it could happen if someone already has some damage on them.
Yeah, so that was my Swiss.
Yeah,
And top 4, I guess.
yeah. So I'm assuming you're pretty happy with that, going 5-1 throughout the day.
Oh, yes, I'm very happy with that. A lot of my games were actually very, very close, and I'm happy that I won them. Like, I was surprised at how much shields were there. If I knew it was that heavy, I would have probably changed some cards in my deck. Like I said, I would have been running the sustained fires.
Sustained fire, I think, is an interesting call. Even a single Vibrax, maybe cutting like a sound the alarm for it.
Yeah, well, my assumption, honestly, going into the day was I was expecting a bunch of heavy aggro. I was expecting Kylo, I was expecting Cad Bane, Django, that kind of stuff. That's why I picked the 4 wide, because it really beats up on that.
Yeah, right now it seems like shields are the meta in Calgary, and it's either you're playing shield hate or you're playing shield love.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just seems to be the way it's been for the last few weeks, at least on Fridays, when we go to play at Myth Games.
Yeah, I'm actually personally really happy with the meta right now. It's very diverse because I found early on in like even in Awakenings you had Vader Raider and Jango Veers, and then in SOR you had Rainbow Nines, and that was like you had 1 deck or 2 decks at the top. Now it seems like you can run kind of whatever you want, and it's viable.
Yeah, we had I don't think we had a single person running the same deck out of the 12 people that showed up. There might
I'm
have
pretty sure
been
you're right.
one, but for the most part everyone was running different things.
Yeah, well, and we had a bunch of good games. Like people sometimes, I don't know, they probably hear our videos and they think our meta is just nonsense, but come in and play in it.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time to play playing Destiny in Calgary. There's so many diverse decks and people playing a lot of things. Um, just a couple quick thoughts. I just want to hear your stuff in 30 seconds or less. State of the meta. Go. What do you like? What do you not like?
I think shields are a little bit powerful, and I think in the next, when the next set drops and they get all their fun, Ataro Strike and whatever, they're gonna get to be ridiculous, and I think they're gonna have to be errata in some way. I don't know how, but in some way.
Do you think any shield hate cards will be spoiled in the next couple weeks?
Well, I sure hope so. Otherwise, they're gonna get ridiculous.
Yeah. I think hypothetically you could do a Taro Strike for 7 plus whatever your die is, and then Riposte for over 14 damage.
Yeah, like that honestly does kind of scare me for the balance of the game. I get that they were trying to get shields to be powerful, but I think the issue is they designed legacies before the errata, so they probably thought shields were still not being played. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, it feels like Legacies didn't take into account how the Vibroknife nerf would affect the state of the meta.
Yeah, so I mean, like right now, I think it's very fun and very balanced, but I think in when legacies comes out, I have really concerns.
Understandable concerns too. we don't. I don't want to live in a world where it's you're sitting there punching three shields down and then three shields get back up.
Oh yeah, well that's not fun. You're sitting there trying to do something and nothing happens, and then you go to time.
Yeah, it's like playing against second chance ammo belt.
Yeah, well they errata that, so hopefully they can errata shields if they get to be too bad.
Yep. Here's hoping. Um, well, I'm hoping we'll see you in mid-January for our Hoth Open event. Do you think you're gonna be running something similar if it's only in a only awakening cycle?
I honestly don't know what I'll be running. I This kind of came out of nowhere for me. Like I built it right after the errata hit, and then I put it in my back pocket because I realized it was pretty good.
Oh, yeah. You and your dad play a lot of games, and we don't see certain decks that you two play.
Oh, generally, whenever we test something and it's very, very powerful, we'll just not play it until there's an actual major event that we want to win.
That's fair. Understandable too. You kind of want to keep that away, and you don't want to bring it out for the fun nights because that's not fun for anyone.
Well, no, it's not fun to go 4-0 and face roll on the fun nights when everybody's playing Jank.
Yeah, that seems to be the current Calgary meta. Is a lot of jank.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun jank. I'm enjoying the jank. Other than that, any other comments about your deck, about the event?
um, about my deck, I'm just happy with how it performed. To be honest, I wasn't expecting to do quite that well because I felt like I would lose to Shields, but here I am.
Here you are, King of November.
Yay!
Yeah, we'll definitely be trying to put a few of you guys. I think for the Hoth Open, we're going to take our winners and give them a higher weighting. Um, at the start of the Hoth Open, just so it's not you guys against someone who is playing for fun and not to compete.
Yeah, well, I think I would appreciate that, and so would all the people that are playing for fun. It's not even fun. It's not fun for us to go up against the players that are not playing competitive decks because we just win and it's not actually a game.
Yeah, and that kind of affects your strength of schedule as well during the night.
Yeah, so I think I do quite like that actually.
Well, we'll see what we can do. I think there's something we can do with the app. We can weight players with a higher score, so they have a better chance of facing each other against round one. And then people are there just to have a good time, and then they're there for the raffles. They'll have a lower weighting, and they can just have fun.
Yeah, well, that sounds great.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do with that. Other than that, thank you so much for your time, Martin.
You're very welcome.
And I hope you have a great night. Are you going out tomorrow?
I believe I will be, yes.
Okay, well, have fun. I won't be there. Black Friday, working hard. So,
Yeah, well, have fun at the store.
yeah, rest in peace, me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Alrighty, well, have yourself a great night, man.
Yeah, you too.